The standard of ramen is really high in Australia, and sometimes stocks can be simmering for up to 24 hours. I'm going to make a vegan ramen today, which you can have on the table in under 2. But it's not like it's a lot of work. It just takes a bit more time. You can go and do other things. The first thing I'm going to do is add a kombu dashi stock powder. So you can find it easily in Asian supermarkets. And they're just little sachets, little sticks of instant dashi powder. Kombu is a type of seaweed which has a really high level of iodine, which helps to support the thyroid gland. Ramen's all about stock. You can make a fresh kombu stock by using a piece of kombu, but I'm speeding things up and using an instant dashi powder. Now for some shiitake mushrooms, some dried whole mushrooms that have a really nice savoury umami note to the stock, as does the seaweed. I just want the mushrooms to be in here with the stock powder to allow them to soften and release their flavour. Just cover this with a plate and set aside for about half an hour. Add some neutral flavoured oil, like vegetable oil or rice bran. So once the oil is really hot, I have this over a high heat. I'm going to add some coarsely chopped onions, coarsely chopped carrot, some sliced ginger, and coarsely chopped garlic. Give it a really good stir, about 3 to 5 minutes. We want it to be nice and deep and golden and charred to really get the flavour into the stock. Tonkotsu ramen is my absolute favourite ramen, and it's the most well known. When I was pregnant with Harriet, I was having some crazy ramen cravings. So it was my mission to make a ramen that was vegan, but also required a lot less effort. These ingredients add layers of flavour, really nice natural sweetness and warmth. This is where I want it to be. Some charry and sweetness is filling the room. It smells incredible. So I'm just going to start making some miso cherry tomatoes. I have some miso paste here, about a tablespoon, and a couple of teaspoons of mirin. It might seem strange to add tomatoes, but they add a really nice pop of savouriness, or umami as it's known. Give it a good stir until it's combined. So I have some gorgeous cherry truss tomatoes. I use Roma as well, and I just cut them through the middle. And then just coat it in the mixture. So when they roast in the oven and collapse and the skins burst, all of that miso mixture will seep in and soak up all of the flavour. Into the oven now at 180 degrees for about 20 minutes, or a bit longer for larger tomatoes. Really golden and caramelised. It's been about 30 minutes now, so I'm going to check on the stock. The mushrooms have expanded very nicely. I'm just going to cut off the woody, tough stems because I want to serve these at the end as a whole mushroom. Put the heat back on to medium. Add the stock. The important thing to note is you don't want it to come to the boil. And then I'm going to add 1.5 litres of water. I just want to bring this to just below simmer and cook it for a further 45 minutes to allow the flavours to develop. So while that's happening, I'm just going to make up a sauce mixture that I'll add to the soup a little later on. First up, the remaining miso paste and mirin, some sake, just some cooking sake is fine, some rice vinegar, some soy sauce, not too strong. And lastly, I have some sesame paste here, which is found in Asian supermarkets, or you can use tahini if you can't find it. I'm not sure how they're prepared differently, but the Asian sesame paste seems to have a stronger flavour. Whisk this together gently until it's all combined. Tahini is a great source of copper, which is essential for iron absorption and blood pressure. Okay, that's all whisked through. Stacks of flavour in there. I'll come back a little later on to add it into our soup. This is smelling amazing. Strain it through a fine sieve. Pick out the shiitake mushrooms and I'll just put them back into the pan. You're probably thinking, why would I want to spend so long making a soup? It is a real labour of love, but it's very rewarding. Drain out every drop. Pour it back into the pan. And now for the extra layers of flavour. So rich and creamy, that sesame paste. It looks amazing just like this. So I'm just going to pop that on for another 20 minutes on a low heat, just to allow the flavours to infuse. And while that's happening, I'm going to prepare some of our toppings. You always need some spring onion on top for some freshness, to add a bit of a zing. So I find the thinnest spring onion that I have and slice it into half. And then as thinly as you can, slice it into rounds. Just need a sharp knife. You may have noticed if you've had a bowl of ramen and the spring onion looks really nice and crisp. And the trick is to put it into a bowl of iced water. Just leave it for a little while. You can put it in the fridge. It makes for the perfect garnish. The tomatoes have been resting in the oven. Oh, they smell incredible. Nice garnish for the top. Ready to plate up now. And a very important component. Wouldn't be a ramen without some ramen noodles. A few ladles of soup, some of the cherry tomatoes, some nori, some spring onions, and lastly, some of my sesame salt. This ramen has half the calories, is low in saturated fat, and ready in a fraction of the time. My vegan ramen.